My ex and I started dating in high school and continued into my freshman year of college. To me, it felt more like a friendship than a romantic relationship. We never kissed or did anything physical beyond holding hands, and we mostly just hung out. But for him, it was something much deeper, an obsession that I didn't reciprocate. I didn't realize how unhealthy it was at the time, but looking back, the signs were there. One day, while we were watching a movie on his laptop, he fell asleep. I don't know why, but I had this strange gut feeling to look around on his computer. It wasn't something I'd ever done before, but something about that moment felt off. On his desktop, I noticed a folder with my initials on it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. What I found made my stomach drop. Inside the folder were 400 pictures and videos of me. They were all taken without my knowledge. Most of the photos were focused on my legs or crotch area, but I was fully clothed in all of them. The pictures were taken everywhere, at restaurants under the table, in the car, at school, at our houses. He had been documenting me for who knows how long, and I had no idea. As I scrolled through the folder, I started piecing things together. He always had his iPod Touch with him, and it always seemed like he was playing games or doing something harmless. That's how he must have taken the pictures, sneakily, while pretending to be distracted. But the worst part was at the bottom of the folder. There were videos, recent ones. When I played them, I realized they were taken from inside my dorm closet. My heart sank. I always went into my closet to change after showering, and he knew my routine. He had somehow managed to set up his camera or iPod in there to record me. I went to my closet and found the hole where he had been placing the device. It was like a punch to the gut. I felt violated in a way I can't even put into words. It was 4 a.m. when I found all of this, and I guess I was too exhausted to fully process it. I ended up falling asleep, but when I woke up, the weight of what I had discovered hit me like a ton of bricks. I called my best friend, and she came over to my dorm. When I showed her what I had found, we both broke down. We sat on my bed, crying together. I had never felt so exposed, so betrayed, so utterly violated in my life. Later that day, I gathered a small group of my closest friends to help me confront him. I told him I'd found the folder on his laptop. The look on his face was one of pure panic, like a deer caught in headlights. He started crying, saying, "I tried to stop, but I couldn't help myself." Then he ran out of the room and sat on a bench outside my dorm, crying with his head in his hands for hours. I could see him from my window, but I didn't feel any sympathy. I felt disgusted. After that, things escalated. He started stalking me. He would park outside my job and watch me from his car when I got off work at 10 p.m. By then, I had started dating someone new, my first real love, and he would often be there to protect me. But my ex didn't care. He kept showing up, lurking, watching. The breaking point came at a house party we all happened to attend. My ex showed up with a bat and tried to attack my new boyfriend. My friends had to lock us in a room to keep us safe, while others held him back. I could hear him outside the door, swinging the bat, breaking things, screaming. It was chaos. Eventually, he disappeared, and everyone went looking for him. They found him outside on the porch, curled up in the fetal position, rocking back and forth, crying. Even after all of that, he didn't let go. A year later, despite losing his virginity to someone else and me being in a stable relationship, he told mutual friends that he didn't care about any other girl. He said he would love me forever. It was unsettling, to say the least. To this day, everyone close to me knows that if anything ever happened to me, if I were murdered, he would be the prime suspect. It's a dark joke we make, but there's truth to it. The thought of him still lingers in the back of my mind, a shadow I can't quite shake. When I was 17, I got pregnant. It wasn't something I had ever imagined happening. Not then and not that way. It was completely unexpected, especially since I was on the pill. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, yet somehow it still happened. He was my first real boyfriend, the first person I had been intimate with, and the pregnancy came just 2 months after I lost my virginity. I felt overwhelmed and trapped, like my life was spiraling out of control. I was too young to deal with something so monumental, so permanent. After days of agonizing over what to do, I decided on abortion. I didn't want anyone to know, not my parents, not my friends, no one. I wasn't ready to deal with the judgment or questions, or even the pity. The only person I told was him, and he seemed understanding. I remember the way he sat with me when I told him, how he said he'd support me no matter what. He even came with me to buy the pregnancy test. He knew it was real. He saw the results with his own eyes. I even took the test in front of him to remove any shred of doubt. He promised me he'd be there for me on the day of the procedure, that I wouldn't have to face it alone. For a brief moment, I believed him, but when the day came, he didn't show. I waited, hoping he'd text or call to say he was late or stuck in traffic. Nothing. I tried to push the betrayal out of my mind because I had no choice. I had to go through with it alone. It was one of the scariest days of my life. I sat in that clinic, surrounded by strangers, trying to keep myself together. I kept thinking, how did it come to this? How did I end up here? When it was all over, I just want to go home, crawl into bed, and forget everything. But when I got home, I made the mistake of checking Facebook. What I saw broke me. He had posted a status that said something like, "When your ex pretends to be pregnant to get you back," with a laughing emoji. My heart dropped. This person who had seen me at my most vulnerable, who had promised to support me, was now publicly mocking me. It wasn't just him either. Our mutual friends were commenting, calling me crazy, laughing at me, saying things like, "What a psycho." I felt humiliated, exposed, and completely alone. I had a choice to make. I could defend myself and explain what had really happened, something so deeply personal and traumatic, or I could stay silent and let everyone believe his lies. The thought of trying to explain it all was too much. I couldn't handle the idea of opening myself up to even more scrutiny. So, I deleted Facebook. Not just my profile. I deleted the app entirely. I disappeared from social media for over 2 years. It felt like the only way to protect myself, to create some distance from the damage he had done. In the months that followed, the fallout from his lies continued. Rumors spread. Friends of friends whispered about me, painting me as the crazy ex. Even years later, the stigma lingered. I once had a guy refuse to date me because of what he'd heard about me. It didn't matter that none of it was true. His version of events had taken on a life of its own, and I couldn't escape it. The betrayal left deep scars. I didn't date again until my 20s because I couldn't trust anyone. How could I, after what he had done? He had taken something incredibly painful and twisted it into a punchline, erasing my experience and replacing it with his own malicious narrative. Years later, I found out what became of him. He went on to date other women, and eventually, he was arrested for beating one of them so badly she almost didn't survive. He went to prison for it. While he was there, he took his own life. When I heard the news, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me felt relief, knowing he couldn't hurt anyone else. Another part of me felt hollow, like there was unfinished business I'd never get closure on. I'd never get to confront him, to demand accountability for the way he had turned my life upside down. Even now, I still think about the people who believed him. The ones who laughed and spread rumors. The ones who whispered behind my back or outright avoided me because of the crazy ex persona he created. I never got to set the record straight, and there's a part of me that wonders if I ever could. Some people believe what they want to believe, and nothing you say will ever change their minds. Over the years, I've learned to live with the weight of it. I carry the truth with me, even when it feels heavy. I know what really happened, and I try to remind myself